the 29th of September. This month, as I say, is going extremely fast. I hope you're all doing extremely well today. Let me know how you're doing in the chat. Let me know what you've been up to today. Let me know what you've been seeing about this club. Let me know how you're feeling about possible manager changes. Amorim. I mean, let me know if at this point you're Amorim in. I've got opinions on that and where I sort of am with that as well. I think it's at a point where it's becoming a not even up for debate. Danny B, big up JB, big up yourself, my friend. I hope you're doing extremely well today. So yeah, as I say, and as we always say on here, I am not the dictator of the chat. I merely come on here, give you my views and opinions. You guys give me your opinions back, and we debate it out in a fair way. I'll read out your chats because I do respect your opinions. I respect opinions, and in some respects, the fact that we all don't agree, I think actually is probably better because it means that we've got many talking points. So let me know how you feel about Amorim in the chat, what you feel about the club. Let me know what you feel about the Glazers. Let me know whose fault it is. Do you think it's the players' fault? Do you think it's the manager's fault? Do you think it's the last 20 years of toxicity? I'd love to know what you think about all the stuff that is going on at our club right now. Start off. So where do we start off? So as Scott has quite rightly said in the chat, Sir Jim, Dino Hughes, Amorim out, but from what Sir Jim has said, he'll be backed. Amorim's record says it: 33 Premier League games, only 34 points. Now, let's get thinking about this. So Sir Jim has come out and backed him because let's look at the evidence. The club is finished. It's not even a stinking ship. It's not even a sinking ship anymore, JB. It sank the day. So I agree with the Glazers, and Amorim needs to go regardless of the players. Danny B, mate, it's coming to a point, and I will tell you where I'm at with it all as well. So let's look at it right from a logical perspective, and this is what we try. This is what we try to do here. If you can't win 2 consecutive matches in the Prem in nearly 12 months, there is something wrong. All very good points. So Sir Jim has come out and backed him. Now we are coming to a point whereby backing Amorim right now is looking like an equally toxic and an equally incompetent thing to do. Now I for the longest time Amorim in, right? Now after the weekend, after everything that I've seen, now I'm not necessarily Amorim out because I think Amorim out now is a very simplistic way to term this. Hi Bobby, legend of the chat as always. So I think Amorim out for me now is too simplistic, right? Absolutely too simplistic. He can't adapt. Just too stubborn. He will get us relegated. No kidding. I tried to back him, but the negative overpower positives. So let me tell you where I'm at on it now. Right. So as you all know in here, I've been at Amorim for the longest time. I've probably backed him a long time. So this is where I'm at on it now. Is that Amorim has, I think he's used all of his lives. And even me, the staunchest Amorim in person, I think it's come to a point for me now whereby the stubbornness, and as I said, I'm Amorim out, not necessarily Amorim out, but a change needs to be made when Amorim starts to put his own philosophy and his own stubbornness over the club. Now, for me, the demonstration of this has now happened time and time again. I know Bruno Fernandes as an 8, not also as well. Bruno Fernandes his performances have been disgusting. The refusal to take him out of the team, the refusal to show your authority over him. The refusal to sell him. I said this, and it's all out there, that you're going to die on the decision to keep Fernandes. Additionally, playing Luke Shaw. Playing Luke Shaw consistently when he's been absolutely awful. Maguire's come back into the side. Euro is now not in favour. The tactics that he has used, this double pivot, hasn't worked. Now, I've refrained from saying that it is the tactics. I'll still maintain that it doesn't matter what tactics you put to this side. If this side doesn't fancy it, then they're not up. We can talk about the players, but I just want to talk about the manager. It's time for me, and I have to be realistic on this. Right? Sunderland. If Amorim doesn't do what's right and doesn't do the right thing, change his team completely around, then I'm done. I can't support. I will support him if he's trying to do his best for the club. There's a couple of things for me whereby now I am to the point where I think Amorim. I'm nearly at the point where I think Amorim needs to go for this club's own good and for his own good. The fact that if you look at him, he doesn't want to be here. How can a manager be sat on a bench with his head down, not looking at this team, penalty-wise, not taking responsibility? And when I say that, the players do need to take responsibility as well. But where Amorim needs to take responsibility is take Fernandes out. To have courage and to be a manager of this club, you need to do the right thing. Focusing on Bruno Fernandes is what has got him sacked. His stubbornness, and this is where I don't mind stubbornness on the formation if you at least pick the right players to play where they should be playing. He hasn't done that. He's put his agenda over this club. I'm not hammering out because of the performances, right? Because I'm fully aware of what these players are. These players cannot get these absolute arsehole players cannot get away with it again, right? I'm hammering out. I'm nearly hammering out, but at the same time, I'm also these players out. These arsehole players. Something has to be done about these players as well. But I think for Amorim, I think for what's best for this team, and we'll come on to the team as well, is that, and as you say, let me go through the chat. Dino says it's time to go. Frugal Ball says time for Mr. Amorim to go. Dino Hughes, Bruno, Shaw, Maguire, Delo all need to be moved on. I agree. They have had their chance and are not good enough for us to move this team forward. And we can talk about them as well. Even if United win the next 3 games in a row, would he just be delaying the inevitable? 80% of fans have now had enough of him. We are only playing 1 game a week. If he cannot get it right tactically, he never will. So Dino, this is what I wanted to talk about as well. So look, is United getting relegated? Okay, so let me answer that as well. All right, is we might be in a perfect storm here, where Sir Jim's come out and backed the manager, has backed him. Has Ineos backed themselves into a corner for everything that people have said, and they've spoken about Nice. They've said that Ineos are incompetent. They can't run a club. This is Ineos's man, and I've said this yesterday, the day before yesterday. One of the things we need to contemplate is now, even if I'm nearly at the point where I want this manager to go, is that even if you get to that point, because this is Sir Jim's guy and they don't want to spend money, are they going to be forced into keeping him? Well, we're going to have a situation where Amorim doesn't really want to be here. Amorim's not going to walk because he needs to get paid. These players don't like him. They have spent 200 million on him. I will come on to that as well, because I don't think I don't think that's a stick to beat him with, right? But we could have a situation, a perfect storm where Sir Jim and Ineos, because don't forget, Sir Jim knows fuck all about football. Sir Jim is an absolute cretin. Like, don't be fooled by this absolute dickhead. He's an. I could use some bigger words to describe Sir Jim. I could call him incompetent. I could call him facetious. What's the point? He's a dickhead, right? He knows nothing about football. Okay, he made his money, his billions of pounds, and there is no doubt that he's an intelligent man. But you can't apply the same principles to football. So we could have a perfect storm here, where we have a manager who doesn't want to be here, who doesn't like these players because he doesn't. And let's be clear on this as well. I'll be even-handed. Amorim didn't get the players that he needed for the system. Why was Ashworth let go of months of starting his job? Exactly. We will never know. He didn't get his players. Ineos brought him here in to play a completely different system to what we ever played. They needed to back him, whether we like it or not. Amorim plays a specific system. You don't bring a manager in who plays that system and I'm not talking. You could have bought him a couple of players at cost. We didn't need to spend big cash on players, but we did. We completely bought him the wrong players. Now, who is responsible for that? Look, you can say that he got backed, right? But he didn't pick those players. Those are the players we didn't need. We didn't need those players. Those are the players that we didn't need. We didn't need 2 number 10s. Now, who is responsible for that? You could argue Amorim, maybe, but Amorim didn't choose those players. This is what this fan base needs to get. This is not a case of Amorim picked his players, Amorim was backed, Amorim got his players, and then he was sacked because he's crap. I'm not Amorim out because of... I'm not even necessarily Amorim out because of the performances. I know these players are responsible for that. These players will sack another manager. If Luke Shaw is still here, if Delo is still here, if Bruno's still here, they'll sack more managers. I am nearly Amorim out because he's stubborn and he's putting his own agenda and his stubbornness, and he doesn't want to be here, and he's putting himself before the club. That is why he needs to go. Now, let's be fair. He didn't get his players. Ineos, somebody needs to look into this. Why they bought the players that they did. All right? Sir Jim said they don't want to run to a bad decision. They want to walk to the right one. They walked to Brentford and paid £17 million on a player that we didn't need. Cunha, you can argue. Maybe we did. But we didn't need to buy 2 number 10s. That £70 million could have been spent on 2 or 3 players. Shesko was a 4th choice. And where I'm at is that we cannot have somebody in charge who is so obstinate and so stubborn in his... he's coming across right now like he's basically coming across like he doesn't care, and I think he's coming to the point whereby he has to go for the sake of the club. Now, what I have said is that any manager with any sense, okay, would, and I'm not saying to pander to these players, but play the game, right? We know what these players are. You know you're not going to get your players this season, right? Survive until next season. If you're look, we all know these players can't be coached, right? Look, anybody comes into this squad if Southgate comes in, and be warned, it's going to be Southgate. Xavi comes in, they're going to have to adapt their style. If they don't adapt to these players, it's either adapt to these players or die, right? So until they can get their players, they need to pander. And what Amorim didn't learn, or Amorim hasn't learned, Number one, you have to adapt to this league. You cannot just play your team in your formation every single game. That doesn't work. You have to adapt to this league. He didn't. Stubborn. Fernandez has got him sacked. This obsession with Luke Shaw, this obsession with Maguire. And it is the utter stubbornness for me that is pretty much ended. So, look, right, I would give him another game, but it's pointless. I think at this point it's utterly pointless. There is no way that he can turn this around. Now, the vote from Sergio, look, this represents look, Ineos know that they've messed up and they don't want to be seen to be Nice again, but they are. So all this is about is them saving face. And as we all know, they don't care. They will absolutely bring this club to their knees before they will admit that they are wrong. And this is the point of where we're at. We've got an ownership who don't want to look stupid, so they're going to try and give him as much time. You've got players who are low IQ, no drive. You know, Rooney, for example, you know, you've got to take with a pinch of salt about what these ex-players say. But you also at the same time, as I've always said, is you've got to respect some of their opinions. Rooney knows, even Rooney has even come out and basically lambasted these players. Right, Rooney has come in and destroyed these players. And for Rooney to come in and basically get to the end of his tether with these players as well, he knows. He knows that these are not Premier League. These are not United players. So we've got a point where we've got a manager who, whether or not now, I could argue that whether or not he's going to get his players or not, he could turn this around. He can't do it. Absolutely cannot turn this around. So we're now at a point whereby I will be the final nail for me to be Amorim out is the Sunderland game. If he continues to play Bruno at 8, he continues to play him. I want that little Portuguese cretin out of my club. He's not a captain. He is sour-faced. Just I don't want that player anywhere near my club. Luke Shaw still plays. There he is in the bowl, JB. If he does the same things again, Amorim can fuck off, because I will tolerate certain things, but what I cannot do is when a manager puts his own stubbornness ahead of the club. And I've always said this: when a player or a manager puts himself ahead of a club, it needs to go. Let's have a little look. That's what we're saying in here. It will cost more to sack Amorim than would have to pay down payment on a midfielder. Why didn't you go for Trent this summer? Yeah. Trent wouldn't pick United. Yeah. Trent, all the money in England. Oh, mate, I want to have Trent. I'm not sure I understand. This is the same club that hired former Liverpool captain Sir Matt Busby to help them rebuild after the war. Look, but mate, what happened in the 60s, mate, it doesn't apply now, does it? And let's be fair, look, football has changed, times have changed. There's no way that Trent is going to come into this club. There's absolutely no way, shape or form. So it's a bit of a moot point. I mean, if he was going to leave, he was never going to come to us, was he? I mean, look, you look at us, right? I'd argue we're only a point behind Chelsea, 3 points behind City, but we're not. We are miles off, absolutely miles off. Intellection in game management to adapt and drop plays isn't good enough. I agree. The Brummy Biker, it doesn't matter who you get in; it'll be the same. You're better off with someone who association and knowledge of the club. I think that's why OGS did well when he came in. Steady the ship, kept Rooney in. Maguire over Euro in defence is a disgrace. I agree with you. Heaven played well in pre-season, but Amorim still picked short. I agree. He also says fair play to Xavi. He's trying to sell the idea of a manager. Sadly, Ineos too busy twerking for Southgate. I agree. Why are you saying if he continues to do Sunderland? You know that he will. Ineos too busy counting the pennies. I agree. Everton will beat West Ham tonight. Look, so I think Amorim-wise, I think this is where I'm at. I mean, I can be stubborn as well, right? I'm of the opinion, and even of so for me, the Grimsby game proved ultimately what these players are, right? But at the same time, Amorim is not helping himself. He's not helped himself, and he's put himself and his tactics and what he wants above the club because he's annoyed because he didn't get players. He's annoyed with his players. He doesn't want to be here. He's too emotional. He's done. And what I'm going to say to Neil is, look, Neil, I agree with you, but I can only hope, right? For me, for Amorim to even have a remote chance. So it's like basically, right, when you're playing a video game and your character's down to that last tiny bit of life, you're down to this last tiny piece of life, and he finds a way to basically get back. The only way for me, I will talk about that as well. I will talk about that. I'm not going to hide away from the relegation talk, right? And I will get into that as well. JB has improved, and again, Danny B. I'll come on to that as well. So, Amorim for me, he's gone. The only way for me, as I say, a little tiny piece of life. If he says, look, fuck it, right, Bruno, you're gone. Get out of my squad. Kicks Bruno out, Luke Shaw out, Maguire out, and brings in a couple of youth players, and just plays Heaven, plays Yara back in there, and goes and plays a different team. Kick these wasters out. For me, that's the only way that he even gets a tiny piece of life left. We all know that's not going to happen. So Sunderland for me is basically the marker for me, will be the final nail. When that team steps out and Bruno Fernandes is in that pivot, I'm done. I'm done. There comes a point whereby I reluctantly and sadly then have to go, look, I don't want to sack another manager, but if you're going to sabotage yourself and sabotage this club, then that's on you, and then you've got to go, and then we'll be at a point where it's going to be the long goodbye. Sir Jim is gonna, but again, Sir Jim and Ineos are going to make another mistake, and this is where I'll come on to that comment, whereby do you contemplate the relegation talk? Look, if Sir Jim is now persistent in not making a change, right, and this continues as it is, we will go down, right? If I was always of the opinion that give Amorim until the end of the season. If these players were playing well and they just happened just to lose the odd game because of the odd goal, there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing from the manager or the players. If Ineos, as incompetent as they have been so far, they've been nothing but incompetent. If they keep Amorim in this role, we will go down. Amorim cannot stay this season unless he can do something ridiculous and change the way that he's been, and has an epiphany and changes completely his team. We will go down. I never thought that I would say it. I've tried to support this manager, as you all know. I've been slated because there are certain reasons to me why I would support a manager because of the historic stuff. But if this manager is in place and he doesn't change anything, which he won't, then we will go down. It is as simple as that, because the relegation form right now, there are historically teams that I would have said would have gone down, like Leeds, Sunderland. They're doing really well this season. We will. If Amorim is in charge and doesn't change, and Ineos back him, then we're done. Dino says if Sir Jim sticks to his comments, we will finish where we are now in the league. If he's happy for that to happen, then he needs to set up. Look, Dino, I think it'll be worse. I think it'll be absolutely worse. These players are not playing for this coach. Amorim doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to be here. So I think that we'll finish lower. I do. I really do. I have to look at it, and we've got to look. We can't win back-to-back games, and you guys on here make a fantastic point. We can't win back-to-back games. That is relegation form. I predicted, and I'm going to clip it up. I predicted 8 points from 8. That is what I said. Doesn't mean that I'm fantastic, and I'm not bigging myself up. But that's how low. Look, in pre-season, I've said all this. That's what I predict. That's what I predicted. 8 points from 8 is because we're absolutely abjectly awful, and we have been. And this is the same team that finished 15th last season. Danny B says, JB, has he improved any play since it came in? Danny B, no. And this is one of the reasons again why it's a red flag to me. I was talking about red flags as well at the beginning of the season. I'm gonna find my clips and I'm gonna clip myself up. I agree, Danny. We're talking about youth, right? And we're talking about we've got one of the best systems for youth. Where are these youth players? I'm not saying, like I've always said this, you can't just throw the youth players in because you absolutely destroy them. Where's OB gone? Where are these young players? It's almost like he's completely gone back on everything that he did at Sporting. He brought these young players in. I don't get it. I'm baffled. I am baffled about. He seems to have gone back. He's actually worse than Ten Hag. Like I never actually thought these words would come out of my mouth. He's actually worse than Ten Hag. Like he's not. Like who's he improved? You're right. He hasn't improved anybody. He's got Luke Shaw playing more than a game a year. He's got Mason Mount back. But the fact he's playing Mason Mount. I mean, look, I like Mason Mount, but he's ineffective. He's injury prone. Luke Shaw is injury prone. So, and the fact that the manager is using these players, bringing some youth players, and there were so many red flags they've done it. And I agree with you. Neil says 12 million payer is why we keep on hearing the club back in line. Why is he even on that sort of money? Look, 12 million quid. Just get him out. He's killing Manu. He's regressing under Amorim. Look, we'll have that debate as well. Let me get through chat so we can have that debate as well. Kobe needed that loan. I agree. Josh de Savino says he has hired based on the system of Sporting, which was very successful. The system is what he believes in. If the system doesn't fit, then shame on United ownership for hiring him in the first place. Josh, I agree with you. Look, Josh, I agree with you completely. My whole argument here, right, is that if you bring in a manager who specialises in a system and plays in a certain way, you've got to buy him the players. There is no point in hiring a specialist manager. We've never played this system before. Look, these players can't play the system, right? I believe it's a combination, and we've seen it. Bruno Fernandes is a little prick. I can't stand that rat-faced little prick anymore. I'm done with him. I'm done, right? He's petulant. He can't play the system. Luke Shaw, the injury-prone Luke Shaw, who didn't play a whole season and got himself fit to play for England, the little snide. He's not good enough. Maguire, I get it. I like Maguire, but he's not a starter anymore. You've got so many of these players. And Ineos spent £200 million in the wrong positions. Shesko, you didn't need to buy Shesko. You could have got. We needed a striker, but you could have got somebody from a different league. Because whether you spend £70 million on a striker, or whether you spend 10, it doesn't matter because our strikers don't score goals. So it doesn't matter. £70 million on a Brentford player. He's not a bad player. We didn't need him. We needed midfielders. We needed a right back. And Ineos wasted that money. So my whole argument here is, what did you think was going to happen? And this is why this is all on Ineos. Aaron's been brought in to do a job. We can argue the job and the job he's done, but ultimately this is to do with Ineos not having a fucking clue what they're doing. And we can blame the players, and we can blame the players. We can blame the manager. Those two things are trying to do a job badly, but this is on Ineos, and this is where I think the anger needs to be aimed. Amorim out, fine. Look, he's gonna go at some point, but this is Ineos. This is on Sir Ratcliffe. This is on Wilcox. This is on Omar Barada. This is on. They need to be sacked. This is what I said when people were at the start of the window and we were buying players. We're bigging Ineos up. We're saying that Sir Jimmy, he's done all right. We're buying players. They back the manager. This is why I said we needed to be careful about what we do, what we say, and let's see how the season progresses. What I saw in pre-season was a precursor to this, absolute precursor. And I spoke about the red flags then, and the red flags are still here now. Let's have a look. Dylan says the thing is that they saw they're going to back him in the January window, let him waste another 150 million plays for the system that doesn't work, and less incompetent owners didn't back him last January either. Look. If they give him until the next window, it might be too late. It might be too late. I'm still not fully Amorim out. I've got 1 foot in out and 1 foot in. Unless we see something over these next 2-3 games, I can't predict it. Any competent owner now would make a change. Whether that and I'm not saying that's necessarily the coach. They need to do something. They need to do something. This is why Ashworth wanted to bring in Frank, Josh, Ineos don't like. Yes, man, exactly. Tulip Places. Hey JB, hello. Hit that like button, double tap the screen. It absolutely does help us grow. Ownership incompetent like Neil. Ownership has been incompetent, mate, since they came in, my friend. Xavi would be a great coach. We could talk about coaches as well. Who's coming in? Look. Right now, Xavi's begging for the job. I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't like it when coaches are begging for a job, because it basically means that he'll come in and he'll do whatever they say. Xavi, look. Will Xavi do a better job? Probably, because as we say there in the chat, he'll do something about the midfield, right? But we don't have a midfield. I mean, that is the scary thing. They say they want to give him the season. It is ridiculous. The promoted teams are way better this season. Danny B, I agree with you, my friend. I agree. Shesko money should have been put into the midfield. Also, I agree. I think that Højlund should have stuck. Look, if you look, right, with hindsight, is Højlund? It was Højlund. Would it have been better to keep him and spend that money elsewhere? Yes. I was of the opinion that we didn't. I wasn't exactly Højlund's biggest fan during the pre-season, but I could see something different. And I don't understand why we spent that money on a striker when Højlund probably would have scored the same amount of goals. Look, the service is still the same. Højlund would have fared exactly the same this season. That 70 million could have gone and got 2 midfielders. When will they be starting next season in the Championship? Jim Thwaites Lacey or Barcelona, they were getting minutes. Yeah, should have been only one Cunha or Mbumo. I agree. Letting Roger Fernandez go to Saudi was a kick in the air. I agree. Amorim, he was second choice wing after Quenda. That's Ineos. It is, guys. In my opinion, this is now where Ineos need to take the flag. This is look, Amorim. Look, I get it. All right, Amorim is the shield, is the forefront of this team that is going to take all of the blame, right? Amorim is the consequence of the decision that Ineos made, right? So it's a bit like if you make a decision in life. So if somebody says to you, right, fix that door, or it's going to fall off its hinges, okay, let's just say you tell somebody and you know that a door's going to fall off its hinges, and you hire somebody and you're not quite sure if that somebody is good at their job, right? It was your decision, and you hire them. Going, they look a bit sketchy, but do you know what? I'm gonna hire them. They do a crap job. That door falls off its hinges and actually hurts people. Whose fault is it? It's clearly the guy who can't fix the door, but who hired him? Like, this is Ineos. This is Ineos's mess, and it's a hot mess. Ineos keeping Ten Hag and then booting Ashworth. I agree. Ineos was the straw that broke the camel's back by letting the Glazers stay without a full sale. Guys, this is it. This is it. This is absolutely the point. Absolutely. Keeper was a terrible choice. That's on the manager. It's not. It's not, mate. Look, we've got to stop blaming Amorim. Look, blame Amorim by all means, but let's blame Amorim for the right stuff. Amorim didn't choose the keeper. Amorim didn't want Lemens. He didn't want him. He didn't want to. Right? So the keeper is not on him. Playing Binder is on him. Okay? Buying the goalkeeper is not. Buying these players, the 3 players that we spent all that money on, is not on him. Him choosing to play them is on him. So we need to be angry at Amorim for the right things. Blaming him for everything is too simple. I think it's just anger. It's thoughtless anger. This club is toxic to its roots. This club is toxic until these Glazers have gone, and until Ineos have gone. Ineos keep making mistakes. It doesn't matter. Look, I guarantee. I'll have a bet. I guarantee. Right. That this time next year, if we're still going on here, come back at me, right? And I bet you that we'll be in the same position again, no matter who we hire. I guarantee you. Let's face it, this is getting deeper and deeper now. Pure joke, and don't look like stop boycotting the cloud. No money, and should ever have. Yeah, look, Pete. It is getting worse. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. I knew from the announcement that we were sinking ship, Neil, when we finally sank. Exactly. Jamie Vargas, legend of the chat. Would Glasner be a good fit if Amorim gets sacked? Look, we'll come on to that as well. We'll talk about that. Glasner can adapt. He played it back 4. We can do that. Silverback gamer. All right, people. I hope you're doing really well. Jamie Vargas. I love his tactics at Palace. Silverback legend. Xavi elite player, but he's not an elite manager. I agree with that. I do. Should have said Fergie, brilliance disguised incompetence for the first 8 years. Look, the thing that Fergie did well, and the reason why Fergie survived, was because he appeased the fans to a degree. He still played the youth. You know, the football wasn't great, you know, but at least he showed something, right? Amorim's not even doing that. Amorim's not even doing that. Stevie Wonder could do a better job than Amorim. Dino, he won the league with Barca, pretty much broke. How isn't that impressive? You've just seen it on my feed. Thought I'd see what the score was. Whoever decided to buy 2 number 10s and play Bruno in the midfield should be sacked. I agree with you. They probably thought Bruno was going to Saudi. 50 million for Hayden Hackney. Roger Fernandez would have only cost the. Yeah. Look, I agree. Whoever's decision it was to get those 2 number 10s and Shesko should be sacked. They are great players on an individual but as a collective, we didn't need them. Because I should tell you for why. I should tell you for why they bought them. Because this fucking idiot football collective thought that you could take Cunha, you could take those 3 players and their goals, put them into the squad, and what that means is you get their goals. Not understanding that you need a team behind them to fucking play. And this is the point, and this is why they're thick, is you don't, like Haaland, you put Haaland in this side, maybe he would score some more goals, but you put Haaland in here and he's not going to score goals. Like, you can't just lift and shift players who did the things that they did at their other clubs under different coaches, under a different system, in a completely different world, and expect they're going to do the same thing here. It doesn't translate. And this is why this football side of Ineos are fucking stupid. We bring in, I think this time is up for Ruben, I agree, but I don't know who we get in, plus it's going to cost, if we want to bring in a manager at another club, going to be a nightmare. So you're a Middlesbrough fan. Hayden Hackney is a good player, but not a United standard. He should join a club like Brentford or Palace. Look, Capio, mate, these players right now, mate, are not of a standard. These players are not of a standard. So he hasn't asked for these players. And these are no. I mean, he didn't ask for these players, mate. Like, he's asked for centre midfielders. Maybe he did ask for a 10. Maybe he asked for a striker. I get it, but I'm damn well saying, mate, he's asked for midfielders. Like, he wanted Quenda. He wanted Quenda as his very, very, very first signing. They fucked that up. He wanted midfielders. He wanted 2 midfielders, a right back, a centre back, 1 number 10, and they haven't. Probably interim manager. I think they promote Fletcher from the 18s to fill in because we know Ineos are too cheap. I agree. Yeah, Ineos will look for the cheap option. Should have hired Frank. It was the easiest appointment ever. Said it at the time. You employed Amorim. Look, I don't know what to say, mate. I mean, look. All I'm going to say here, and I do look. I bang my head against a brick wall, right? Not because, look, everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? I get it, right? But let's look at it. Let's look at what's happened over and over again, right? The toxicity of this club, it doesn't matter unless you have a clearer of these players, right? These players don't get away with it scot-free. These are fucking lazy. These are horrible players. These are a horrible set of players. Not all of them, but they're a horrible team. They're a horrible set of players, right? If you bring in Glasner, if you bring in Frank, it doesn't matter. This is what I wish people would. And you don't look. I may do people's heads in, right? You guys, you may think I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, right? And I may make you hit your heads against fucking brick wall, right? But it just pains me to see it over and over again. These players are not good. Until we have a clear out of all these players, it doesn't matter who you bring in. They can turn it on and off like a light switch. They are a fucking waste of space. And we've said this time and time again. We've been here over and over again. And when are people going to realise, until we clear out this shit and until Ineos and the Glazers are gone, it doesn't matter who you hire. It doesn't matter. They're not going to fix this team. They're not going to fix Fernandez. He's a prick. He needs to go. They're not going to fix Maguire. They're not going to make Maguire faster. Luke Shaw's done. They're not going to make him quicker. Dorgu, I like him, but they're not going to make him suddenly cross a ball. Casemiro, they're not going to make him younger. There's so many players here that they're not going to make them better. This is a horrible side, and it's as much as you can absolutely go in on the coach, but you've got to go in on these players as well. These players are a fucking waste of space. No one ever goes in on them. They're an awful team, and when you pair an awful set of players with a coach who is out of his depth, let's be honest, Amorim is out. What I've said, he's 40 years old. right? He still needs to learn the game. He's learning on the job. Amorim is not the guy, right? He clearly is not the guy. It's just a shit show from top to bottom. You've got players you don't want to beat. Well, you've got players that just want money. You know, Mason Mount is on what, 300k a week. He wears the number 7 shirt, right? Ineos have this club have allowed Mason Mount the number 7 shirt, and they let him keep the number 7 shirt. It's a smear. It's an arse wipe of this club. They've taken our club and they've wiped their arse with that number 7 shirt. Is it Mason Mount's fault? No. But take it off him, for fuck's sake. I mean, do something. So these players, as much as Amorim, are to blame as well. They're an absolute shit stain on this club. Absolutely. Danny, if I was Fletcher, I'd be saying, no way, mate, not for me. Like I said earlier, that's why Ashworth was quickly shut the door, because he knew what the club needed. I agree. Maguire, Delow, Shaw, Casemiro still here. 2025 is a disgrace. It is, mate. It is. If you can't tell, it fucking winds me up. They are those lot. They need to go. Much says I wouldn't let Amorim do Sunderland get ridden now. Liverpool, after Sunderland need a new face in charge, give him 2 weeks training so he's had more time to play against Liverpool. Tell me where you were getting information from their signings. These are they're not his signings, mate. Look, there are many sources. You tell me, Nisa, where you're getting your info from, because you know fuck all as well. Like these are not his signings. If you look at what he was asking for, and if you actually fucking listen and read stuff, because it's all out there, it was a football collective decision, right? Amorim didn't want Šeško. Right, he wanted a striker. He didn't want Šeško. Cunha was signed by Ineos. Right, you look at the players that they've bought. 3 players that they've bought. They are multi-use players. Amorim wants specific players for a system. Amorim didn't ask for these players. Amorim doesn't have a veto. The Footballing Excellence Centre bought these players. Amorim wanted Quenda. Amorim wanted Gyökeres. Amorim wanted these different players. They didn't get him his players. Mate, that is well known. That is all out there. Go and do your research, which I have. It's all out there. It's all out there. We'll be here for both games. Probably Brighton, Forest and Spurs. I really hope not. I really hope. We should have kept Ranić. I agree. Absolutely, that guy had... He did, mate. He really did. He really did. Right, off. T's done. Catch you later. Well done. Rob Taff says, didn't end well for Xavi at Barca. He found the pressure too much, so I'm like, no, I didn't. The spotlight, exactly that, my friend. Don't use the term Manu Rob Taff. There's a story behind it. Hopefully you will, mate. Google is unsure. Facts JB, he's finished then. Bruno should have been sold in the summer. Why on earth would you sign 2 number 10s knowing you have Bruno and play him as a number 8? We needed midfielders to go alongside attackers. Exactly, Mark. And again, this is... Look, I want to make sure, right? It's my duty. I've read so much, and I'm sure as we all have, right? Because you guys are intelligent and smart, and you guys read as much as I do, right? We need to assign blame where it's due, right? Amorim didn't sign these players. Amorim probably was like, yeah, fine, if I have to have them. But Bruno Fernandes stayed, I think, for 2 reasons. Number one, Amorim was probably like, look, I can do something with him. But he knew he wasn't getting a midfielder. That's why Fernandes stayed, is he knew he wasn't going to get his players. And now it was the football collective side that chose these 3 players. And the reason why they chose these 3 players, because they can play multiple positions. That is what happened. Amorim wanted Quenda, Gyökeres, he wanted Humland, he wanted different players. And I'm glad they didn't sign all of his Sporting players, because that all would have been wrong. But he wanted midfielders. Like, that is what he wanted. He wanted 2 midfielders. And they gave him 2 number 10s. I mean, this is on Ineos. think it's to understand that United are a mid-table team at best. I don't even think they're that, mate. Casemiro, Shaw, Delobrin all started in the 7-0 thrashing to Liverpool. They shouldn't be starting. Maguire should still be here either. Rob, spot on. Gyökeres didn't want United. He didn't. But look how that's turned out as well. I mean, Xavi wants to come, then I would take him. Too much juice on here. First word that Amorim was taught in Duolingo to learn the word was suffering. 2, Jason Wilcox signed them on behalf of Finnis. Exactly. Look, Wilcox needs to go as well. Wilcox needs to fuck off as well. Like, anybody attached to this needs to go. Amorim, Wilcox, Omar Barada, they'll need to go. Amorim uses ChatGPT to pick his tactics. I love it, Brummy. What about the keeper? Look, Lamens wasn't his choice either. He didn't want Lamens, he wanted Costa. Emi Martinez, that is who he wanted. He didn't want Lamens. Lamens, again, was the football inside's choice because he was cheap. I want to take him, Scott. However, Rob Taffin made a valid point about him not coping at the pressure. Hey man, what's up? Hope you're doing really well. F Ineos and the Glazers. Scotty's in the house. Ruben wanted Martinez, exactly. 4 more seasons for Amorim, please. Samuel, do not depress me. Barada, Wilcox plans to destroy our club. Exactly. I'm actually from Northern Ireland. Bubba says Glazers manipulated Sir Jim. Glazers manipulating Sir Jim. Sir Jim manipulating Barada, Vavell, Wilcox. These 3 manipulated Amorim manipulated the players manipulating the fans. Complete shit show. I semi-agree with that. Apart from the Glazers are not manipulating Sir Jim. Sir Jim knows what he's doing. Look, I am not letting Sir Jim... Look, the reasons why the Glazers are not manipulating Sir Jim is Sir Jim chose to buy into this club. That was his choice. He chose... Nobody forced him. He saw an opportunity to make money. The reason why Sir Jim is here is because the Glazers have the project to build the stadium. Sir Jim is the front man to that. Sir Jim is not smart enough to manipulate these people from the footballing side. He knows fuck all about football. He knows absolutely nothing about football. Amorim is stubborn. And he's not manipulating these players. These players are manipulating and frauding everybody. These players are culpable as much as Amorim is, but that is the least concern of mine. My biggest concern is the Glazers and Sir Jim are fucking this club up more. I never thought we could go lower and lower than what we are, and we're actually going lower and lower, even worse than what we have been. Got the whole squad. I agree with you. Sorry, I'm late been sorting the kids out. No worry. Wish it was possible. Shine Xavi as coach. Why would Jim need to know football? He knows business and gets the manager in for that. Nisla, mate, why does Sir Jim need to know about football? Can somebody please in the chat tell Nisla why Sir Jim needs to know about football? Because I really can't, mate. That is one of the thickest comments I've ever had on here. And I don't mean to call you out, mate. I really, really don't. But that is one of the fucking dumbest comments I've ever heard in my life. Sir Jim thinks that this team is good enough for the Champions League. Why would you buy into a business? And Nisla, Sir Jim, apparently, according to many of you guys, not necessarily the people on this chat, but according to many, many people, Sir Jim was going to buy the football club because Sir Jim is a fan of this club and he's going to buy this club. If Sir Jim doesn't know about football, then why the fuck did he get into this squad? Nisla, I'm sorry, my friend. It's one of the fucking dumbest comments I've ever heard on here, mate. It is, mate. I don't know if you're a troll. I don't know if you're a kid. Look, if you're a child, apologies, right? But if you're over 18, then you're a fucking moron. I mean, how can you say that? How look, I'm respectful to people. right? But if people come on and have fucking stupid comments like that, mate, I can't. I can't fucking deal with it. Can somebody just deal with that comment, because it is absolutely ridiculous. Sir Jim wanted Chelsea, then makes it he's a lifelong fan and buys a share. He's a businessman and it was a dumb move. I agree. Answer is relegation clubs relegated. Brummy Biker, they won't, mate. And this is the thing. Look, people are talking about relegation like it's the answer, right? The Glazers will love it. This is what people don't get. Like, imagine they go down, they sell the whole of these players because these players will leave, right? The debt's going to still be there, but imagine, right? You'll get to be able to not pay the wages anymore. You'd be able not to get away with spending millions and millions and millions of pounds on Premier League players. You'll buy a bunch of Championship players. The revenue in that club will probably roughly be the same. Will be like, with the amount of money that they'll still make from that brand, they'll be the richest club down there by quite some way. They'll love it, and they'll stay there. It will not get rid of these. It will not get rid of these players. It will not get rid of them. It won't. I think people need to be prepared for that. It's not going to get rid of the Glazers. They will still be here. They will be here because they know in X amount of time the stadium will be built and they'll make loads and loads of money. I promise you, relegation is not the answer. Loving how the trash comments are getting ripped to shreds. Look, guys, if you are... Look, I'm very, very respectful to comments. That's why I read the comments out, right? I do. I'm respectful. I want you to give you guys opinions, right? But if it's a stupid comment, but it has to be a ridiculous comment for me to react, right? Because it is... If someone's prepared to comment, why does Sir Jim need to know about football? That's why he hires people. I'm sorry, it's just... I think you need to go outside and smash your head against a brick wall, because it is fucking stupid. Knowing how a business is run and knowing how football is run are two different things. The club isn't run by a board, it's run by the people, and the wrong people are in charge. Sad thing is we have players like Shaw in the squad who have been here for 11 years. We need to get rid of all these players. Been at the club for more than 4. I don't disagree. Lucas says hi. LVG nailed it when he said United are a commercial club. I agree with you. I agree. If we get relegated, then we won't spend any more money, less wage on big players. But the problem will be exactly. Do you think Xavi will be the new manager? No, I don't. Nisa said, Nisa, I can't wait for this. So in your theory, the ownership say Liverpool no football bullshit. They get people to sort. Nisa, mate. Honestly, mate, you are Scott's right, Nisa. You are dumb as fuck, mate. You are. Honestly, I generally am respectful to people, right? But, mate, you are dumb. Honestly, there is no other words for it. Football is not for you. I promise you, football is not for you. If you think that Liverpool's owners do not know about football, I give up. I give up on you, mate. I give up completely. Don't be disrespectful. Let it out. Don't be disrespectful. Don't be respectful. Let it out, mate. I will be. Look, I'm respectful to people's opinions. People have to have their opinions, and I absolutely respect people's opinions. And this is what this channel is about, right? Giving people a platform to give them a voice, to come on here, give you opinions. We chat it out. Sometimes we talk about it. My opinion's been changed on here. This whole hammering out thing. My opinion has been changed. But when you get comments like that, I mean, Jesus Christ, I mean, it's just properly thick. So Glasner. So let's get on to Glasner. Look, Glasner is up there. Do I think he would steady the ship? Yes. But let's see where we are with that one. I don't think he's going to come in and change the club completely, but yeah. I mean, look, we've already spoken about this. We sort of know where we are. It's like saying JB goes into a new job, not knowing fuck, and just winging it. Exactly that. So guys, I'm going to go. Quickly, I'm going to go. I will be back probably at some point this evening. Interesting show. This is I love doing these shows. As I say, I will be back tonight. Thank you for being here. Even Nisla with his stupid comments. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, people absolutely get exposed, don't they? They absolutely they expose themselves on here, and it's really funny to watch people just die because their opinions are just ridiculous. When I watched the Grimsby game and saw Onana letting the goals, I just laughed. And in late and still number one. In late and still number one. Exactly. Scotty, you are legend, my friend. So I will be back this evening. Thank you for watching, guys. I love this. I love doing these shows. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for being here. You do so much for this channel, and I can never forget that. It is amazing. So guys, I will be back this evening. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, guys. And I'll see you tonight. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.